Mr. Attorney General, it's more with sorrow than anger that I would say that you leave me no alternative but to join those that call upon you to resign your office.
With all due respect, Senator, there's so much that's factually wrong with the premises that you started your statement with. It's almost breathtaking in its inaccuracies. I don't have any intention of resigning.
Well, we thought we'd bring on Senator Breathtaking in his inaccuracy here on the Laura Ingraham Show, an old friend of the program from my adopted state of Texas. Yes, I am an honorary citizen of Texas. I say that every time I talk to anyone from Texas because I'm so proud of it. Senator Cornyn, how are you? You're so breathtaking, by the way.
Well, thanks, Laura. We're proud to have you as an honorary Texan. You know, the strange thing about that exchange is that Attorney General Holder didn't challenge a single factual allegation that I made. He just said, sort of as a sweeping conclusion, that it was breathtakingly inaccurate. Well, it's not. It's factual, and I think you know me well enough that I wouldn't be calling for the resignation of a member of the President's cabinet without justification, and I'm happy to talk about the reasons why.
Yes, very briefly, because my listeners have been fortunate enough over the past year and 4 months to be on this story, because I believe I was the first radio host to have Cheryl Atkinson on the air to discuss this case. And the week that the story broke, she's an old friend of mine. I used to work at CBS, and I was stunned by the story from day one, and it got worse as the months went on. Specifically, maybe a 1, 2, 3 for our audience. Why should he resign?
Well, you know, the cover-up is always worse than, it seems like it's frequently worse than the original offense. The original offense was letting 2,000 high-caliber weapons walk without surveillance by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and the Department of Justice. One Border Patrol agent, Brian Terry, was killed with those weapons, and there's been a cover-up almost ever since by the Department of Justice, including Eric Holder. He stonewalled Darrell Issa and his committee. He's being threatened now with contempt of Congress. He's challenged voter identification laws in my state, which the Supreme Court has upheld in the past. He said he wanted to try the mastermind of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, in Manhattan in civilian court. He wants to read Miranda rights to the underwear bomber and other terrorists, and the list just goes on and on.
But are those justifications for his resignation, or are you really focusing on the response to Issa and Congress for all of those documents after February of 2011? Again, the story broke then, and the lion's share of the documents that you all are interested in, they have not turned over. And granted, they have turned over a lot of documents, but apparently you all believe that those documents post-February are the really, to use a bad analogy, smoking guns.
Well, I've read the wiretap affidavits, which confirmed that high-level Department of Justice officials who authorized the wiretap applications knew the tactics that were going to be used. But, you know, this is really the culmination of a couple of years of misbehavior by the Attorney General. He needed to decide whether he was going to be the chief law enforcement officer of the country or whether he was going to be a political arm of the Obama administration, and he chose the latter. The most recent of which was the appointment of 2 U.S. attorneys to conduct an investigation into these highly sensitive leaks of two of our most important national security programs that were reported in the New York Times. And, of course, the source of those leaks go all the way to the top in the White House, at least if you believe the New York Times. He appointed a U.S. attorney who was a volunteer in the Obama administration and somebody who is not independent and is not nonpartisan. And I don't think, given the fact they report through Eric Holder and given his history of partisanship and unwillingness to do his job, can be trusted to do a truly independent and nonpartisan investigation into the source of these leaks, which puts us all at risk. So this is really the culmination of a long time and many, many instances of malfeasance and misfeasance by the Attorney General.
Senator Cornyn, you are not known. Your reputation is not one of someone who goes on, quote, witch hunts against people for political reasons. You're a pretty sober guy. I mean, that's been my experience, and I've known you for, I guess, 12 years now, and from the time you first ran for Senate. Given your position and your longevity in the U.S. Senate, all of your experience, is it possible that you could get someone like a Dianne Feinstein to agree with you on this and perhaps champion this cause with you? Or is it just so political up there that even while she's good on some of the leaks issues, that she's just not going to go that far?
Or some things transcend politics and should transcend party, and this is one of them. These national security leaks on the drone program, as well as the cyber attacks, reportedly that were sourced to high level administration officials in the national security apparatus. This is some of the, according to Dianne Feinstein, some of the most serious national security leaks she's seen during her time involved as currently as the chairman of the Intelligence Committee and her entire time in the Senate. So there's no question about the gravity of the leaks and the problem and the need for investigation. I think there's going to be some reluctance, and indeed she's already expressed some reluctance to have a special counsel, which is has a little more independence, investigate this. But my hope is that she and others come around and recognize this is not a partisan matter. This is a matter of protecting some of our most classified and sensitive national security secrets, and it's important that we come together and do that.
Senator, I've been asking my listeners across the United States during this program what they think, and they've been very tuned in to Holder from day one, whether this is a case of sheer incompetence or whether it's a case of deeply entrenched corruption. What is your response to that?
Well, Laura, when Eric Holder went through his confirmation hearing, I went into that with an open mind, but I came out convinced that I had to vote against his confirmation because my concerns he couldn't separate his job as the nation's chief lawyer from his political benefactors like President Obama. And unfortunately, that opinion at the time, or suspicion at the time, has proven to be true time and time again. Through Fast and Furious, his attempt to sue states like Florida from purging dead voters from their voter rolls and non-citizens.
So is it corruption or is it incompetence?
Well, I think it's corruption in the sense that he is pursuing a political agenda and not being loyal to his oath to defend and uphold the laws of the United States.
Yeah, we have kind of a bad cell phone connection, but we're going to continue because this is so fascinating. Do you think he's smart, Holder?
I have not been impressed with his intelligence. No.
Yeah, I don't find him to be. I don't find him to be a compelling figure on the intelligence scale here. I mean, I just don't find his answers to be logical. I don't find his presentation to be in any way, following a trajectory of logical thought. I just don't find him very competent and very, very smart. I mean, I'm trying to take politics out of it. And I said the same thing, and I think you didn't like what I said about Attorney General Gonzalez, but I thought Gonzalez was in over his head. But I don't think he was corrupt. I just think he was in over his head. I think this guy is both corrupt and in over his head.
Well, it's very disappointing, and it's certainly. You're a very fine lawyer in your own right, and you understand someone who is up to the job and someone who's not, and clearly he is not. And so my hope is that he would resign. He's not willing to do that yet, but I hope we can ratchet up the pressure so that he does resign, so President Obama can hopefully nominate somebody who will do the job.
The Democrats are going to say. Yes, the Democrat senator are going to say, look, President Obama's going to nominate someone. You all are going to stonewall that nominee. You'll never let an Obama nominee, AG nominee, to go through. What's your response to that?
Well, we have 146 days to the election, and maybe that's the answer. to retire President Obama and Attorney General Holder through the political process and through the vote. That certainly looks like, at this point, the most practical way to rid the nation of Eric Holder and President Obama's term of office.
So you don't think he's really going to resign, do you?
Right now, I think he's going to hang in there for all the reasons that you mentioned. But I know John McCain and Lindsey Graham and others, including me, are going to push forward on a resolution for the appointment of a special counsel, and to point out that the people that Holder has appointed so far are political appointees, and both him and the president. And you're going to have the contempt vote in the House for Darrell Issa's committee next week, and perhaps the whole House. So I think the pressure is going to do nothing except increase on the Attorney General.
Yeah, I think that there are two words: Reverend Wright. When he became a liability to Barack Obama, and he wasn't heard from for quite a long time until Ed Klein writes his book, basically. And I think the same thing could happen. It might not be his decision, but I think the president could very well say, "We want to get this off our plate. This is getting in the way of my reelection. You got to go bye-bye." That's my instinct here. Senator,
that would be fine with me.
Yeah, that would be fine with you. Senator, on one issue which has exploded, which frankly I think has gotten eclipsed by the Holder deal, and I know you're on this Syria question of now we find out that Russia has been shipping attack helicopters to Syria, and Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, yesterday reacted.
We are concerned about the latest information we have that there are attack helicopters on the way from Russia to Syria, which will escalate the conflict quite dramatically.
You think? I mean, speaking of incompetence, she's supposed to be the smart one in the administration, God bless her. I mean, come on.
Well, these helicopters are the same ones that the Russians used to slaughter Afghan citizens in Afghanistan. And now one of my staff members describes them as flying tanks. These are lethal, highly lethal aircraft, and going to be used to kill even more innocent Syrian civilians. And it's got to stop. And what's worse, as you probably have noticed, the Department of Defense is currently buying other Russian helicopters to supply the Afghan Air Force in a no-bid contract. So
why?
Why? I've asked that question. They said they're the only source for the helicopters that the Afghan military wants.
Whoa. How about Sikorsky? I mean, we actually have a helicopter, a wonderful defense contractor, Sikorsky aircraft. United Technologies.
My point exactly. So what we're doing now is the Department of Defense is doing business with a Russian arms merchant, which is an arm of the Russian of the country that is supplying weapons or aircraft to the United States using taxpayer dollars. This is the same people selling weapons and now these new helicopters to Assad to kill innocent civilians in Syria. It's just unacceptable and really inexplicable.
What can we do about it?
Clinton jump in.
Yeah, what can we do about it?
Well, as long as the administration persists in this, there's not a lot we can do except vote them out in November. But we're certainly ratcheting up the pressure. We're going to have we have a bipartisan resolution we're going to be introducing here soon involving Russia's supplying of weapons to Syria and trying to increase the pressure on them to get them to stop. I'm not sure we'll be successful, but we're sure going to give it a try.
Well, Senator Cornyn, we were absolutely delighted to see you make the stand you did yesterday, and I just think for the country, for the sake of the rule of law, it was necessary, and we really appreciate your joining us. Senator John Cornyn from the great state of Texas, of course, Senate Judiciary Committee, big doings yesterday, and we will have you back really soon, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Take care.
All right, we're going to take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show. Coming up next, Bush 41. And Bieber, don't go away.
The Laura Ingraham Show.